Best of R / Tales from Retail episode 79. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. This happened today. The store I work at opens at 8 AM. I was opening and I leave earlier because traffic patterns are difficult to predict. I got to work about 15 minutes early, 7:45, and notice a man just going to town on the doors. Now I know my co-workers were inside as I saw their cars in the parking lot and knew they always arrived a little earlier to set up. The guy is pissed off by the fact my co-workers refused to open the door and let him in even though they can see him and vice versa. Finally, 2 minutes to open, they unlock the door and the man goes in. I follow not too far behind him. What was the big emergency? The man needed fucking contact solution. Thank you. Next. I work at a small grocery store that has some really interesting people. I could probably make at least 20 posts about events that happened only in the last month, but this one bothered me immensely last night. Basically, we have an area of 5 self-checkouts, and people must have been taking lots of money out of them because we had to shut down 2 of them and set them to card only, no cashback. I was watching the front and was asking people whether or not they were paying cash or card so nobody got confused and wasn't able to pay after scanning their items. At one point, there was a lady who walked up with a completely full cart, and I asked her the same question I had asked everybody else. Me, hey, are you gonna be paying cash or card today, lady? Yeah, me. So, you're paying with card? She gives me a weird look and then finally answers my question by saying yes. She is paying with card. Just to make sure she can use the card only checkout, I asked her, are you going to be getting cash back? She walked straight up to my face and said, we only ask positive questions here, not negative ones. I was so confused and taken aback by her response I just let her go do her thing and got sent to my break. I still have no idea if I actually did anything wrong by asking her that, but it's something that's gonna confuse me for the rest of my life. Thank you. Next. Last year, while taking a year off between my undergrad and my masters, I decided to work to save some money and to have some pocket money. I was hired to work at one of the most gourmet supermarkets in my city. This one is located as part of a very important mall in Spain and, because it's in the center, most of the customers are the rich type. Now, as well as our very ugly uniform, we also have to wear our name tag, important for the story. I have a lot of stories, but this one is short and kind of funny. I was working at the 10 or less items till and that particular day there weren't many people shopping, so I was kind of bored. The way the till is placed, though, makes it kind of hard to control the number of items the customer has if I'm not paying attention, which I wasn't, so sometimes I have to send people off to other tills when they have already started to put their things on the lane. That has granted me quite a lot of insults and offensive remarks all throughout my experience as a cashier. I kind of get, but also, there's a huge sign next to the till, hard to miss. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe learn how to read, so I'm not paying attention, because there's nothing going on and this woman, very kind, with her daughter, starts placing her items. And when I turn to look, I see that she has clearly more than 10 items. However, being the nice lady that I am and taking into account that there's not many people and most of my workmates are free, I let her continue. I'm finishing ringing her stuff when an old guy comes my way and immediately starts muttering and huffing. I pay no mind because at this point, I've been working for months and I have already decided I do not give enough of a fuck for these people. But, he's clearly annoyed by the situation, we being at 10 or less items and the woman before him having more than 10 things. But he's come when she's already paying, so it's not like he's had to wait a ton. Nonetheless, he starts going at me, explaining how my work is supposed to be done, repeating several times how he's a loyal customer, calling me incompetent. At the end, he asks for my name, and I'm already fed up, so I just say it's in my name tag, all while taking my hair back so he can see better. I don't care anymore. He can talk to my manager. It's not like it's the job of my life. He looks confused. I don't understand why at that moment, but he shuts up and leaves. I continue with my shift. It's now close to the end of the day. There's maybe 30 minutes left and I'm at the self-service lanes, bored out of my mind. At some point, I don't know why, I decide to look down at my name tag, maybe because I'm thinking about the situation with the old guy. I look down and it's not there. I'm thinking, Maybe I've lost it at some point during my shift, but I'm thinking, and I don't actually remember putting it on when I was changing, so surely it has to be at my locker still, and I have worked the whole shift without it, even when talking with the old guy, who, now that I'm realizing, does not have my name. So it's very improbable he has gone to talk to my manager to tell her about my incompetence. Long story short, I didn't get fired, because I forgot to put on my name tag. Thank you. Next. I've posted here before about dealing with rude customers while working in a phone store. Now I've actually had a customer physically assault me. Apologies for how long it is. For context, a customer, who I'll call G, has been in numerous times before, never buying anything but asking me for help. I've always felt sorry for her, because she's mid-60s, in an electric scooter, has an eye-watering smell about her, and she would only deal with me. So, I've helped her and printed documents for free, etc etc. Also, she once left up her profile on a swinging website when I had to fix something on her phone. A few weeks ago she came in, inquired about changing her iPhone to a Huawei, then left cheerily. Last night, G came in with her husband. She'd been in with a different salesperson and upgraded her phone to a Huawei the day before, as planned, but wanted to swap it for an iPhone. Now our company policy states that there's no change of mind on an upgrade, and when I told her this, she flipped out, started bellowing that she'd been forced to sign the contract, her life had been ruined, and she hated the phone. I was alarmed but tried to be encouraging and told her she'd get used to using it. It had only been a day since she'd got it, and she just needed a bit of time too. I will not get used to it, kittenmish. She yelled, glared at me, and drove her scooter into our brass tools. Her husband moved them for her and she looped past me, still glaring. Whatever. I'd always helped her, but if she wanted to speak to me like that, cool. Retail, right? G drives back in a minute later, eyes huge and voice whiny. G, kittenmish, I've put a passcode on this phone and now I can't get it off. Can you swap it for a different phone? Me, I can't, but I'll have a look. Did you forget it? G, no, I never set one. I only put my fingerprint on it. Me, you need to set a passcode up when you set a fingerprint on your phone. It's just in case your fingerprint doesn't work, like if it's cold, and a passcode is a backup. G, I did not set a passcode up. Do not call me a liar. Me, G, I did not call you a liar. G, you as good as. Me, please lower your voice. There's other customers here. G, quietly. This is my normal voice. Me, G, I've helped you out before. You know I have. I've dealt with you lots of times, and I know your normal voice. Please don't shout at me when I'm trying to help you. G mumbled something as I tried to take the passcode off. I messaged my manager too, who told me the phone needed flash to remove the passcode, which I feared. That means sending it to engineers, which I explained to G. G, can't you just swap it for a different phone? Me, we can only do that if it's faulty, and this has been done by user. If you want to, I can give you the information if you want to send it to the engineers yourself rather than through us. G, put my SIM card in my iPhone. I did, and handed the iPhone back to her. In turn, she put the Huawei box on my desk. G, take it. I don't want it. Me, I can't do that. G, you're paying a contract for this. It belongs to you. And G, I'll cancel my contract then. I don't care. Me, that'll affect your credit score and debt collectors will be notified. Please just take the phone. I handed it back to her, and she put it on our iPhone display. I picked it up and put it in the basket at the front of her scooter. Guys, I have never seen such fury in a customer's face. The next second she drove her scooter into me, hitting my shins and running over my foot and thrust the phone at my chest. I yelped and said something along the lines of "do not do that." But she was already reversing out of the shop and zoomed away. Son phone. Center security was informed so she won't be allowed to borrow a scooter in future. My boss won't let anyone else deal with her if she comes to pick up the phone. And my toes hurt. At least it's given my colleagues and friends a laugh because of how fucking bizarre it all was. TL. Doctor, angry swinger thinks her scooter is a Formula 1 car and my legs are a track. Thank you. Next. I want to apologize to everyone ahead of time for the story. It is going to hit you in the feels a little bit, but I wanted to share with everybody at event and I just get my thoughts out. Throwaway account. I work for a very large grocery store chain as a closing manager. I've been doing this position for the better part of the last 10 years. Part of my job every night is to face every end cap, the part of the shelves that sit at the end of every aisle. On an average night I would only have to face maybe 4 or 5 of these end caps every night. My store is located in a very rural area where there's a lot of homes and a lot of people have been coming here for 20 to 40 years and you get very acquainted with the people in this area. My story is about a particular regular customer that many of us knew and have known for a very long time. I will call him Mike. Mike was a reserved kind of guy, but loved to help out anyone wherever and however he could. He would always bag his own groceries, always made the entire processes of checking him out fast and fun. He would even pay for other customers' groceries who seemed to need it. He was very kind, very generous and loved talking to people. It often seemed like he would come into the store just to have a conversation. Mike was the kind of regular customer that would honestly brighten up our day and make coming into work the next day easier and worth it. Every day I would come into work at 1600 hours and Mike would be on his way out with groceries and wish me a good closing shift. Fast forward to about 2 weeks ago, I noticed that I had a lot more work on the end caps to do. An overwhelming amount of work even. Almost all of them were completely destroyed and needed to be refaced and restocked. This really slowed me down and hurt my productivity. It turned a 1-hour job into 3 or more hours. I was at a loss as to why I had so much more work to do now, and my boss was wondering why my work every night was behind. Just today I just found out that Mike had passed away due to cancer. It devastated us all very much. I knew that my store would never be the same without his kindness, his welcoming, friendly voice and uplifting demeanor. A few hours ago, I had a silly thought that Mike was doing my job for me, but I tried to dismiss it as ridiculous. However, the more I thought about it, the more it started to make sense. I had to find out for sure. The one thing that made this plausible was that Mike spent longer in the store than most customers, but whenever I mentioned this to him, he just blew it off saying he was a slow window shopper, and I accepted this answer blindly. I went into the manager's office and started looking over our security cameras, going back a few months. What I found really surprised me. Mike had been facing every end cap 1-2 hours before the beginning of my shift, for years. No one ever knew, especially me. I am more hurt that I could never actually thank the man. I unknowingly had astronomically large amounts of help doing my job and I couldn't even thank the person who did it for me. I am still shocked I'm an hour and a half away from the end of my shift and I can't bring myself to finish. Rest in peace, Mike. You will be missed by many. Thank you all for reading and I apologize if this dampens your day. Thank you. Next. I'm currently working 2 retail jobs, both of which I love. I know it sounds crazy but I'm honestly passionate about working in retail, one of which is in a novelty stationery store. We sell a large range of items including notebooks and pens, but also items ideal for gifting like cushions, mugs and even toys. Since it's a novelty store, a lot of items contain rude words and phrases that anyone with a decent sense of humor would have a good chuckle at. We've been told by the company that the only rude words we don't censor are SHT and PSS. Everything else is allowed but must have a yellow sticker over the word. At the checkout we always have a promotional item that is on a WAP with any purchase deal, meaning if you buy any item in store you can get a discount on the WAP item. Usually about half price to 2/3 off. We're encouraged to sell as many of these as possible, and whoever sells the most usually gets one of them as a reward. Since the store opened 4 months ago I've won twice. We normally do this by explaining the offer to customers as they're paying for their purchases. Currently, the WAP item is fuzzy slipper socks which have actually been selling pretty well. There's a great range of them, and even though the favorite green with googly eyes have sold out, lots of people have been buying them since they're paying only 1/3 of the original price. I had been noticing this week that there were a lot of kids coming in with their parents, which I later found out was due to a school holiday. So I had been warning customers that one pair had a swear word on the soles of the socks. The phase in question was FCK today, just in case, as I'd had people returning to the store when they realized they've bought something with a swear on it. On this particular day, I had one customer. I believe she was in her late 50s to early 60s. As I knew people have bought these as presents, I decided to let her know that one pair had a swear on it even though she was there alone and didn't have any kids with her. The moment I did, she broke into a rant about how swearing is the worst thing people can do. About how I'm a bad person for selling this item. About how I need to tell the company to stop making these items. About how if people didn't swear, a well-known TV presenter in my country wouldn't have committed suicide recently and the world would be a better place if people didn't swear. I didn't even say the particular word to her. I just explained they had a swear on them in case she bought it for a 5-year-old thinking they were normal black slipper socks. My colleague was standing next to me while this happened and I could read her mind. I knew the both of us were desperate to say the word FCK to see if she fainted. Normally I meant to ask if she'd like to purchase an additional charity item, but after that rant I knew what the answer would be, so just gritted my teeth, gave her the total and finished the transaction. The young man behind her was close to bursting out laughing and even had a laugh with me about it. And the second I'd finished serving customers, my colleague and I turned to each other and asked, "Didn't you just want to tell her if she doesn't like it? FCK off?" On the plus side, for the rest of the day I used the story of the woman who hated swears whenever I told anyone about our socks, and it got a lot of laughs and sympathy, which ended in a few more people buying them. So I guess the world won't be watching its language anytime soon. Thank you. Next. I've been working at a popular bookstore for the past few months. The most interesting interaction came when I was working the register and a woman came up with 3 copies of the same book. The title included the word love. I noticed something peeking out of one of the books and assumed it was one of the bookmarks we sell. C for customer. Me. Oh, there's something in your book. Who pens book? C's gold foil condom wrapper. C. There is. Me. Turns book towards customer without touching anything. C. Goes red. That's not mine. I've never seen that before. I shook it into the trash and kept ringing her up, and to my surprise she didn't ask for a different copy of the book. She did leave in an awful hurry though.